will get started here in Shabbat Shalom. We'll get started here in just a couple minutes. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. So nice to see everyone. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. We are praying out of Siddur Lev Shalem, which is downloadable as a PDF file from our synagogue's website. And we will begin tonight's service, page 5, with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we continue with Psalm 95, page 11. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. We continue in the English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands formed the earth's deep. Mountain crests too are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai who formed us. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted, like the people at Meribah, like the time at Massah, in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my ways, so in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Arba'im shanakut bedor va'omaram toeh levavhem v'hem lo yad derachai asher nishpati v'api im yavaon el menuchati. Page 13, Psalm 96. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, shiru ladonai kol haaretz, shiru ladonai baruch shemo, basru meyom leyeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim nifliotov, ki gadol Adonai, umehulal miyod. No rahu al ko Elohim lai 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 kiko Elohe ha'amim elilim v'Adonai shamayim asap had v'hadar lefanav oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho havu l'Adonai mishpachot amim havu l'Adonai kavod v'oz. Havu l'Adonai ke'evod shemo, seu mincha, uvahu l'chadzrod av lai 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 ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh chilu mipanav kol haaretz imrum vagoyim Adonai malach Aftikum tevel balatim od yanin amim beme sharim yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz ayiram mayamu melo yalo sadai v'chol asher bo lai 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 az yiranenu kol hatzeyar lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel betzedek v'yamim be'emunato yalai lalai lai lalai ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai lai lai. We continue page 15 with Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, the many distant lands rejoice. Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine, righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about. Flashes of lightning illumine the land. The earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the Master of all the earth. The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory. Worshippers of idols be shamed. For praising false gods, all that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted, all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. Though God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Or Zaru la tzadik ul Yisrael ev simcha, simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kadishom. Page 17, Psalm 98. Mizmor shiru ladonai shir chadash, ki niflo dasa hoshia lo yemino uzaro akod shoadia Adonai Yeshuato le'ena goyim gilad tzidkato zachar chasta ve'emunato Levei Yisrael ha'u cholav se'aret et Yeshuat Eloheinu horiu ladonai kol ha'aretz bitzchum ve'ranenu v'zameru zamru ladonai bechinar v'kol zimara b'chatzot rod v'kol shofar Hariu lifnei melech Adonai, Yiramayam malo, Tevel v'yoshveva, Neharot yimcha uchaf, Yachad harim yiranenu, Lifnei Adonai kivo, Lishbot haaretz, Yishbot Tevel b'tzedek, V'yamim b'meisharim, Yalai lalai 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 lalai, Yalai lalai lalai, Yalai lalai lalai lalai, Yalai lalai lalai lalai, Yalai lalai lalai, Yalai lalai lalai, Yai, lai, 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 lai. We continue page 19 with Psalm 99. Adonai reigns, nations tremble. The one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake. Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, all-inspiring, Holy One. A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice. And you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly. Exalt Adonai, our God. Bow down before God, the Holy One. Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among those who called upon the divine name. Called to you, and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst the cloud. They kept your covenant and the law you gave them. You answered them, Adonai, our God. You were a forgiving God to them, even as you punish them for their transgressions. Exalt Adonai, our God, and bow down to God's holy mountain, for Adonai, our God, is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lahar kadisho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. We rise, page 21, for Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid, havu ladonai b'nei elim, havu ladonai kavod vos, havu ladonai kavod shemo, tishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el kavod hirim Adonai omayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et al ze halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel, Livanon v'siryon, kemo venrehim, Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholeo ayalot, Vayechasop nyarod, Uvehechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Yeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz liamu yitem, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, et amo v'shalom. We continue with Lechadodi, page 23. Lechadodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela, Lechadodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu elam yuchad, Adonai echad u'shamo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litila, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lekrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekora beracha merosh mikedem nesucha, Sov maaseh mimachshvat chila, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzeim mitocha hafecha ravlach shevet biyamek habacha, V'hu yachamo alaychem la, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Hitnari me'afar kumi, Livshevik de tifartecha mi'ayad ben Yishai, Beit alachmi karva el nafshi ge'ala, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Hitoreri, Kiva ore kumi ori, uri shirda beri, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lo tevoshi v'lo tikami ma tishtochachi u'matem mibach yechasu ani ayamni v'nivneta ir al tila, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, v'hayulem shisa Shoesayich v'rachaku kol mivalayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich kimchas chatan al kala, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela, Yamin usmo tifroti v'yet Adonai taritzi ayadish, Ben parzi v'nismecha v'nagila, Lechadodi lekrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. And we rise as we chant the last stanza of Lechadodi, page 25, and we face towards the west to greet the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzala tochem munei am segula. Boi chala Bohu chala lecha dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabila. You may be seated. We continue on page 27 with Psalm 92. A psalm, the song of the day of Shabbat. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladdened me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand. The fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourishes like grass, and every evildoer blossoms only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no flaw. Tzadik tamar yifrach ki erez balvanon Yiske shetulim bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva Deshenim verhananim yehu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri v'lo havlatabo. Page 29, Psalm 93. Adonai is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you were enthroned, you are eternal. The rivers rise up, Adonai, the rivers raise up their roar. The rivers raise up their waves above the roar of the vast sea, and the majestic breakers of the ocean. Adonai stands supreme in the heavens. In your house, beautiful in its holiness, your testimonies endure, Adonai, for all time. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone. I'm so glad to see so many of us make this their home for Shabbat, for Kabbalat Shabbat. I am so very grateful to be here and to lead the service with you. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you had a very good week. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Shabbat. It's looking very good from this point. So the Jewish calendar is a marvel in both its accuracy in reconciling the motions of the sun and moon and its wild swings compared to the secular Gregorian calendar. We add an entire month every 2 or 3 years to bring the calendar back in sync, which means that the number of days in a Jewish year can be one of 6 different lengths. 6 different lengths. This also means that the number of weeks in a Jewish year varies as well. When there is no leap year, the number of weeks is lower, and therefore Torah portions must be combined in certain weeks in order to complete the entire reading by Simchat Torah at the end of the high holiday season. This week we have the third of 4 Shabbatot with double portions, and this week it completes the book of Leviticus. In this week's double parsha, Bahar and Bechukotai, we focus on the laws that ensure that we take care of the land which we have been given, as well as God's promise of a time of security and peace for those faithful to God. We learn from a midrash that after creating humanity, God led the first human beings around the Garden of Eden and said, "Look at my works. See how beautiful they are, how excellent. I created them for your sake. Take care not to destroy or spoil my world, for if you do, there will be no one to repair it after you." How interesting. Midrashim were written 1,500 years ago, and how apropos they are even for today. Part of abiding by the covenant established between us and God, then, is taking responsibility for what we have been commanded. Every 7th year, the farmers shall stop working on their fields for an entire year. And every 7 times 7 years, the Jubilee year, farmers stop working on the land for an extra year. The need for a Sabbath for the land tells us that, as we learned in Moses' encounter with God through the burning bush, the land that we stand on is holy and sacred, much like our reasons for Shabbat. The land needs to rejuvenate, replenish, and renew itself in order for it to truly produce all it can. Ibn Ezra, an important commentator from 12th century Spain, also suggests that this 7-year agricultural cycle matches that of God's creation cycle. The works of creation are formed in 6 days, and then God rests. As such, its inhabitants are asked to work the soil. We are not owners, but residents and custodians of the ground on which we walk. Each year corresponds to a day of creation, and the seasons mirror that of the morning and evening hours of each day. Therefore, the 7th year is like the weekly Shabbat or weekly Sabbath, a rest period of the fields. The Rambam stresses that the land's rest is also about its productivity, providing a time for the land to replenish allows it to regain its strength. Furthermore, the sabbatical and jubilee laws ensure food for the needy, freeing slaves and canceling debts. The emphasis here is much like on Shabbat when we reflect upon Torah and the value of our lives. We use this sabbatical year as an opportunity to be sympathetic to those less fortunate and teach to be generous to those in need. In many respects, the Rambam challenges us to never rest when it comes to the mitzvah of tzedakah, as it is for him the most important commandment. He urges us to think that how we treat the poor is very much a reflection of how we treat the land we walk on. If the sabbatical year teaches us to treat others with dignity and honor, so too shall we do so with the land. We learn from this week's Parsha that rest means being reminded of those aspects of our lives that we forget. We need to care for the land that we live on like we do for a child. We want the land to live a long and healthy life, and hope that with our nurturing, it too will show its love for us. At the same time, we need to care for our fellow inhabitants of the land so that they too can care for it and be cared by it. In doing so we protect the self-worth of all who live on this earth and defend the gift given to us by God for our sake. Shabbat Shalom. Sometimes we learn so much from these Torah portions about how to apply these lessons that we read to our present day. And may we continually learn and relearn the lessons we need to take heart and bless the world that God has given us. We continue with Ma'ariv, page 39a. We rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Avoed. You may be seated. Baruch et Adonai, our God and sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's divisions, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. U'mahavir yom u'mevi laila, mavdil bein uvein laila, Adonai Tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch alein l'olam voed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim, page 40. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amchavta, Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha leolam voed. Ki hem chayenu v'orech yameinu v'orech yameinu Uvahem nege yomam v'layla v'yavatcha tasim mimenu la'olamin baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ho'ele asher anochim nitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinanatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shachpecha v'kumecha ukshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu latotofot ben enecha uchtabtam nam zuzot beitecha uvisharecha v'haya im shamo tishma'u mitzvata asher nokim. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta lehem v'yasu lehem tzitzit al kanfei v'gdehem ledoratam v'natnu al tzitzit hakana patil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto Uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo tatu acharei levavachem v'acharei nechem asher tem zonim achareihem leman dizgaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim leloechem ani Adonai Eloechem asher otzeiti etachem be'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet, page 43a. This is our enduring affirmation binding on us that Adonai is our God and there is none other. And we, Israel, are God's people. God is our sovereign, redeeming us from earthly rulers, delivering us from the hand of all tyrants, bringing judgment upon our oppressors and just retribution upon all our mortal enemies, performing wonders beyond understanding and marvels beyond all reckoning. God places us among the living, not allowing our steps to falter, and leads us past the false altars of our enemies, exalting us above all those who hate us. Adonai avenged us with miracles before Pharaoh, offered signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. God brought Israel from its midst to lasting freedom and led them through the divided waters of the Sea of Reeds. As their pursuers and enemies drowned in the depths, God's children beheld the power of the divine. They praised and acknowledged God's name. Page 44. U'malchuto b'ratzon kibaleihem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael nishira b'simcha rabba v'yamaru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh nora tehilot o seifele Malchutach uvenecha b'keyam lifnei Moshe zeli anu v'yamaru Adonai yimloch leolam voed v'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov ugalod miad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael, page 45. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom. Ushmotzeitenu v'im l'chaim ushlameta v'yalam v'fos alenu sukat shlemecha baruch Adonai habochet sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. We rise, page 46. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'doratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. We now continue with the silent Amidah for Friday night, pages 49 through 52. If you haven't finished your Hamidah, continue at your own pace. We will, just a moment. We will continue with Aleinu as the ark is open, page 56. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol atek gdula liotzer breshit shalo asana kugoye haratzot velo samanu kamishmachot hadama shalo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרב השמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו וזולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד על כן כתוב בתורתך אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Echad. You may be seated. And before we do Mourner's Kaddish, we will, of course, count the Omer. Page 63, we say the bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. היום שבעה שלושה יום שהם חמישה שבועות שני ימים לעומר. Today is 37 days, 5 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. This week we will observe yahrzeits for Rachel Perlman, Steve Miller, Adam Wallach, Irvin Landy, Alex Margolis, Nettie Rosen, Pearl Feynman, Ned Franco, Aaron Lewis Goldston, Anna Israel, Harry Glazer, Samuel Mussafer, Max Saracen, Betty Bell, Ephraim Toronto, and Verna Wool. Those observing yahrzeit and those who mourn, please rise and join me, page 58, for the Kadishatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba b'yomah divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayichon v'yimechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agalav izman kari v'yimaru amen yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'mel maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudishah b'richu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yomah v'yimaru amen Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen Oseh shalom b'mirmav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. You may be seated. Thank you for, again, joining me for Kabbalat Shabbat. So grateful that you all have taken time out of your week to slow down and take a day of spiritual reflection as we celebrate Shabbat together. Tomorrow morning services will continue at 9:30 a.m. And tomorrow evening via Zoom, we will join with the Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah group and end Shabbat together. This is a group that has been meeting every week since May of 2020. I always get the day wrong. May of 2020. And we have a wonderful group of people that join us. We have words of wisdom. We have heavenly music. And I hope you're able to join us. That's at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening as we celebrate Havdalah together. With that, we will go ahead and complete our service, page 211, with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'yachare kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora Adon Olam v'hu haya v'hu oveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'hu echad v'yein sheni laham shelo lahachbira Adon Olam beli reshit beli tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'ham nisra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzorchev li b'yetzara Adon Olam v'hu nisi umanos li minat kosi b'yom mikra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam biyado avkid ruchi b'yetishan v'yaira Adon Olam v'maruchi geviati Adon Oli v'lo ira Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. Shabbat shalom.